Hello everyone and welcome to another Maven time here at the Fundraising Nest, and today we have one of our most recent Mavens, Mr. Peter Dalton. Now for most people in Australia he needs no introduction, but we go far and wide at the Fundraising Nest. Hello Peter, thank you for joining us.
Hi Michelle, great to be here.
Wonderful. Peter, I kind of throw this open to our guests, so I think the first thing is for those people outside of Australia who don't know the legend that is Peter Dalton. Peter, tell us about who you are, what you do, and a little bit of why you do what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the word legend, it means I'm pretty old. So would you believe I've been fundraising for now 4 decades? I started way back in 1983 at Freedom from Hunger campaign, which then morphed into Community Aid Abroad and is now today Oxfam. So that's the sort of transitions that you get in fundraising that are pretty exciting. But the other thing, sort of at my age, most of my contemporaries are either retired or retiring. And I've always said I have no intention to retire because I actually love what I do.
Yeah.
And so privileged to be a fundraiser working in this profession for purpose organisation for causes which actually change the world for the better. And bloody hell, we need to change for the better, don't we?
Absolutely. I mean, Peter, 40 years ago, when you told people you were a fundraiser, what did they think then?
Oh, yeah, probably what they think now.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you use the word fun, it's interesting, isn't it? So I'm sure we've all been to parties and things and just socially, and people ask, hey, what do? And you say a fundraiser. And you kind of understand what they think, that it's some sort of, fun run or special event. It's that public face of fundraising. They don't really get it. It was really interesting. When I was bringing up my 3 kids, and I don't have 3 grandkids, and they used to ask, Dad, what do you do? And I could never really explain it to them because fundraisers, they have the same sort of interest. So one day I came up and I thought, I know. I'll tell them. They say, what do you do? I said, hey kids, this is what a fundraiser is. I'm a professional nag. That's my job. I'm a professional nag. And have a guess what? My kids really got that because that's what it was to them.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, Peter, you've achieved a lot in your career. You've been heavily involved in FIA for many years and recipient of awards. One of the community hub we're focused on, for me, peer-to-peer learning. Those people that inspire you, I think, have paved the way for the kind of fundraiser I want to be. Who's someone that's inspired you in your significant fundraising career?
Yeah, well, I think the answer is there's been lots and lots of people along the journey. A lot of the names that you would know because I've read the books. I remember as a young fundraiser, what used to occur at FIA was fantastic, but it really wasn't cutting edge. So I actually, flew over, paid for myself to fly over to the US to go to IF conferences, go to the UK, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, all these things come from what's the motivation that causes someone to do that? And there's probably 2 people. The first was my mum. Mm-hmm. So I was quite spoilt and lucky. So both my parents were doctors. But the thing about my mum, Cheryl, they were sort of weird parents. We just called them Norm and Cheryl rather than Mum and Dad.
Awesome.
They were sort of a bit out there. And but she would tell me stories that, she was the only woman in med school, back in the late 1940s. And when she graduated and she started, setting up private practice because she was a gynecologist, she told me that all the other male doctors in the area started ganging up on her. So they wouldn't refer anyone to because women would obviously want to go and see a women doctor. So she became really tough and determined and had to fight that equity battle. And so that caused me to be not just admiring of her, but being a bit steely. And the other person who was so influential on me in terms of my fundraising career was Arthur Venn. Again, I was very privilege because I worked at Downs Venn Associates as a consultant for 7 years working under Arthur. And he taught me the really fundamental principles of fundraising. Everything that we do is rooted in some fundamental principles. And hey, what? They're all based on human nature.
Yes.
Fundamental things like people give to people. I mean, it's 101, but it's just so.
Yeah, absolutely. You see lots of conversations. What do donors want? What do donors want? And I will say, what do you want? Like, they're just people. They're just everyday people. They want what we want. They want to feel good and about what they're doing. And if we make things an enjoyable experience, they'll continue to keep giving. Like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Peter, what is your earliest fundraising memory?
Well, this is the other side of my parental guidance, and that was my dad, who was a doctor, and he was working out at the repatriation hospital at the Austin. And in those days, I used to be dragged up as a young boy to be, sat next to the diggers, and we would build the poppies on what was then called, Poppy Day, Remembrance Day. And they were made with, a bit of wire you had to wrap around. So I was sitting there with all the old diggers there. Some of them, obviously, now I look back at it, obviously had, mental trauma as well as physical disabilities. I could only see the physical disabilities, but it was actually really cool to be sitting down and to see what Dad was doing and to work with these guys. So that was really quite profound, because probably about 25 years later, I was appointed as Director of Fundraising for Austin Health, of which the repat fell under my remit for fundraising. And there you go. It was just surreal. It was lovely.
Incredible.
Really lovely.
Yeah, I had a bit of a moment like that. One of my earliest memories was Live Aid, and the council estate we lived in, we all decided that we'd go round raising money for Live Aid, and we went round the flats. I was a gymnast, and my friend kind of came round, and we put on this kind of circus performance in people's houses for them to give us some money. And so, yeah, Bob Geldof in Live Aid, and then just a couple of months ago, I got to meet Bob Geldof in real life. And I was like, you're the reason why I do what I do. So, yeah, it's quite nice when it comes full circle. Absolutely. So, Peter, what is it you do right now? What is it that you do in the fundraising world?
Yes, I'm Executive Director of DGB Group, and we essentially run capital and comprehensive campaigns, quite large, long-term campaigns. And what's really exciting about that for me is that to do a comprehensive campaign, you really need to raise funds for something that changes the world, because you need to be aligned to the full mission of the organisation. So these are transformational campaigns. So, every for-purpose organisation is set up trying to solve a problem, trying to make a difference in the world, create something better. And what a comprehensive campaign is something that they'll raise more money than they've ever raised for before, that will actually, try and end that problem that they were set up for. So that's pretty special.
It's huge, impactful stuff for sure. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes over the last 4 decades, but at the same time, have such a wealth of knowledge. Hence why you're one of our mavens. The mavens are the knowledge keepers. They're the people, I think, that have the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience. What do you think are the top 3 priorities for fundraisers kind of in the sector today?
Yeah, I think number one is to know your stuff. This comes back to what I learned from Arthur, and it's to know the fundamental fundraising principles, fundraising. And it's interesting, you go to a conference and you see some fantastic presenters, but they might only just be alluding to 1 or 2 principles. Yeah. It doesn't even matter what type of fundraising you're doing, whether it's peer-to-peer, major gifts or bequests or whatever, but there are these, the reasons why people give, how you need to be respectful in your engagement, when do you ask, those sorts of things, how you ask, and that depends greatly depending on the media that you're working to or the medium you're working to. So it gets complex, but at the heart of it, there are fundamental principles, which interestingly I don't think we teach, or I don't think we teach enough as a profession. So that's what I'd love to see.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And is there, what excites you about the future? You know, technology-wise, there's a lot of advancements in technology. Do you see that as something exciting, or is it something to be fearful of?
Yeah, well, I think like all of it's a bit of both. So when I saw that question, I hope it's not because I'm getting older, but things move so fast, which is good, and that's a consequence of technology transforming and getting faster and faster. That's inevitable. When you move into the area of things like AI, it's really, really quite profound, even sort of challenging some common sense notes, not challenge principles. It's interesting that Ken Burnett is now putting out his rewrite of his seminal, work that he did now 30 years ago.
Next year, yeah.
With fundraising. And in that, he's talking about the changes, and he's talking about AI and other things that will have impact as well. I mean, there's always been change. It's always been dynamic. What gives me hope is that I think the for-purpose world has grown, and it's growing more and more. And a lot of the wealthy in the world are beginning to realise that, really to stop the calamity of climate change and even AI and those sort of things, it's going to need leadership, from individuals, not just government. So, we in the for-purpose sector, we have this huge responsibility because government's not going to do what philanthropy can do because it's not economic enough for them to fund it. So a lot of that critical thinking, those partnerships between, philanthropy, business and government is the thing that really excites me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And tell me, what do you love the most about what you do? I know you've kind of touched on it, but the impact that it makes. But you manage a lot of people. What is it that stops you wanting to retire?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that term, even managing people. I mean, I'm in a lucky position now where I'm not appointing people to work for a big bureaucracy which has silos and has all the KPIs and all that crap. So now, we can recruit some of the best young fundraisers and work with them and mentor them and see them grow in their careers. And that's really powerful. And it's particularly special to me because, having worked in big organisations and like everyone else starting out and sort of working up the ladder, you have to deal with so many moronic people. Not because sometimes it's because it's in their DNA, but sometimes they're just stuck in the positions. And I think that's highlighted when, as a fundraiser, you're reporting to the finance director or the marketing person. So you're reporting to someone who knows, forgive my French, bugger all about fundraising.
Yep.
And they're creating even your budgets for you, and they don't know how to write a fundraising budget. They don't understand fundraising, yet you're reporting to them and they're making the key decisions. And that's so frustrating. So one of the bits on mentoring that I get excited about is how do you cut through that? How do you learn to manage up in that organisational context so you can really have impact and fundraising and go to work and change the world?
Absolutely. I think it's the biggest challenge facing our sector today. It has been for a long time. Boards and senior management, CEOs' understanding of fundraising is critical. I think there's so many fundraisers out there are able to articulate their case. They can confidently say why. But I've worked in organisations where you bang your head against a brick wall, you tell them, and then they bring in a consultant who says exactly the same thing as you've just told them. But they listen then. And I think empowering our fundraisers with the tools, yeah, and we're still trying to work it out. And I think that's one of the pieces we'll move on to with the Mavens is what can we give our fundraisers? What kind of tools and training can we give them that will resonate with the people that matter? And I think if we can unlock that, we might see a very different sector.
Great. And Fundraising Nest is right there doing that, which is great.
Yeah, we are. Well, we are. And we driven by the people and we just, it's passionate about advocating for fundraisers. I think if organisations looked after their people as well as they know how we should look after our donors, would be in a much different situation for sure. So we're super excited to harness that and get a real movement going. One of the things that I've spoken about it in a few of these interviews is time to learn. And I know my husband is a programmer, developer, and in the tech sector on a Friday, they have what's called R&D time. So they're not scheduled to jobs, but they have to research and develop their industry. It's like, there's your hours. And so we want to create this Freedom Friday. Imagine if every fundraiser was given 2 hours on a Friday afternoon to do nothing but learn. It would be so exciting. But then I think a lot of them would go, okay, I've got this 2 hours. Where do I go? What do I do? And that's where we want to create this resource hub too that says, okay, these are the top research papers, or, Leo's doing his book club every month. These are the things that you should know and that you should be reading and learning about.
That's so exciting, Michelle. I get it 100%. And because the organisations are not going to put that aside for you. The professional development budgets they provide is really second rate by comparison to other professions. So, we've got to do it ourselves a bit. So, thanks again for this initiative. It's great.
Thank you. It's awesome. One final question, which I ask all of our guests. Peter, what advice would you give to your younger self that you didn't know then and you do know now?
Yeah, when I saw that, but I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think it comes back to taking a bit more time in approaching things, because like all of us when we're young, we're sort of driven by ambition. I want to do better. How can I get that promotion? What am I going to do next? How can I? What do I need to do to do that? And in doing that, I think I made a lot of compromises that now I'm in a privileged position I wouldn't take. And I made those compromises simply so I could get promotion and take the next step. And as a consequence, I had to learn, as we all do, by making a whole bunch of mistakes, which if I'd taken a bit more and I didn't compromise as much for the organisation, then I probably would have not taken so long to get to where I am now.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And for me as well, do what you're passionate. You've got to love the cause that you're working for. I did a stint in a university again for the next pay grade. It offered more money. I learned super quickly that working at a university raising money for buildings was not inspiring me. So there was no way I could inspire people to give. And so, whether it was not about the money, it has to be about the cause. If you can't love it and inspire people to give, then think about where it is you're at for sure. That was a huge learning curve for me.
Yeah,
definitely. Peter, it's been absolutely delightful talking to you. I know we've got Isha in the background. I know we've been saying for a while now, we've got the Mavens. Since we launched in May, we've got 22 Mavens now. These Mavens represent the globe. We've got such an amazing group of people aligned with the Fundraising Nest. And now our job is to harness the power of these, to get the momentum and the thought leadership, to have those high level conversations. We're looking at potential debating chambers between Mavens and really nutting out the kind of thought leadership stuff that hopefully fundraisers could say to their leaders, watch this video, watch this conversation between these two people who know what they're talking about. So we've got lots of plans for the Mavens that will be coming your way soon in the new year. But Peter, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Michelle. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.